Morning students. Today's topic is about midbrain. Before getting into the midbrain, we should have an idea about brainstem. The brainstem consists of medulla oblongata below, pons which is bridged between the medulla below and the midbrain above, and the midbrain above. Here I am locating it, the medulla which is located below, the pons which is bridged between the midbrain and the medulla oblongata. All these three structures together makes the brainstem. The brainstem on a whole, it continues below as the spinal cord and above it is going to continue as the cerebral hemispheres. While we are dividing the brain, we would have divided into forebrain, midbrain and the hindbrain. Forebrain consists of the two cerebral hemispheres. The hindbrain consists of pons and medulla on the ventral aspect and the cerebellum or the cerebellar hemisphere on the dorsal aspect. The midbrain, it is also called as mesencephalon. The green colored region is going to be the midbrain, which is the short segment of the brain. It is around 2 centimeters in long and in width. It consists of the cerebral aqueduct. You can see here a canal-like structure which is going to communicate the fourth ventricle with that of the third ventricle. This aqueduct is called as cerebral aqueduct or aqueduct of Sylvius. So, why we are talking about the aqueduct is the ventricles, the lateral ventricles on either sides of the cerebral hemisphere continues as the third ventricle. It will be located here. The third ventricle will be located here, which is communicating by means of the interventricular foramen. The third ventricle continues as the fourth ventricle. It communicates by means of the cerebral aqueduct. The fourth ventricle is going to continue as the central canal of spinal cord. Altogether, we know the function of ventricles. Yes. So, this green colored region is going to be the midbrain and the aqueduct of it is called as cerebral aqueduct of Sylvius. Coming to the features, to study and elaborate, we study under two headings, the external features and the internal features. For studying the external features, we will be seeing the structures located or related on its ventral side or the anterior aspect and the dorsal side or the posterior aspect. To study the internal features, we will be seeing at two sections, that is at the level of inferior colliculus and at the level of superior colliculus. So when we come to the ventral view of the midbrain, the first structure will be the crus cerebri or the cerebral peduncle. It is finely corrugated on its surface because of the longitudinal fibers running from the cortex to the lower centers. That is, if the fibers is from the cortex to the pons, the nucleus is located at the pons, then that fiber, that longitudinal fiber is called as corticopontine fibers. If the fibers are from the cortex to the spinal cord, then it is called as corticospinal fibers. If the fibers are from the cortex to the motor nucleus of the cranial nerves, it is called as corticonuclear fibers. So altogether, the first structure is the cerebral peduncle or crus cerebri. The crus cerebri, wherein which the longitudinal fibers will be passing and it is finely corrugated. The first structure we saw on the ventral side will be the crus cerebri. It is crossed over by four structures from above downwards. First one is the optic tract. Second one will be the posterior cerebral artery. Third is the superior cerebellar artery. And fourth one will be the tinea pointis. We will explain it because arteries and the structures I cannot show in this diagram. The first structure is the optic tract. The second is the posterior cerebral artery. Posterior cerebral artery is a branch of basilar artery. Basilar artery lodges in the basilar sulcus on the ventral aspect of the pons. The basilar artery gives off the posterior cerebral artery just below the optic tract, and on the upper border of the pons, the basilar artery will give off the superior cerebellar artery, the third structure which is crossing over the crus cerebri. And the fourth structure which is crossing over crus cerebri will be the tinea pointis. Tinea pointis is nothing but one or two small transverse bands or bundle of fibers which crosses over on the upper part of the pons. So the crus cerebri is crossed out by four structures. This is a very important question, and this water question too. Structures crossing over the crus cerebri, 4 in numbers. Yes, so this is going to be the first important thing. The next structure what we appreciate on the ventral aspect is the cranial nerves. The cranial nerve emerging at the level of midbrain will be the third and the fourth cranial nerve. The third nerve is the oculomotor nerve and the fourth one is the trochlear nerve. When we see the 12 cranial nerves, leave off the first and second, the third and fourth will be arising from the midbrain level. The 5, 6, 7, 8 cranial nerves arises at the level of pons. 9, 10, 11, 12 cranial nerves arises at the level of medulla. A common thing for all the cranial nerves is everything arises from the ventral aspect of the brainstem except the trochlear nerve which arises from the dorsal aspect of the midbrain. When we see the oculomotor nerve, it is coming or emerging at the level of medial sulcus. The medial sulcus is nothing but the medial aspect of the crus cerebri. Yes, so at this level the oculomotor nerve will be emerging out and it comes out. The trochlear nerve, it emerges at the dorsal aspect of the midbrain and it winds around the crus cerebri and reaches the ventral aspect. Altogether on the ventral aspect we will be seeing the crus cerebri, 4 structures crossing through it, and then about the cranial nerves, the third and the fourth cranial nerve. An interesting feature in this is this third and the fourth cranial nerve are located in between two arteries. Above it is bounded by the posterior cerebral artery, below it is bounded by the superior cerebellar artery. These both the arteries are the branch of basilar artery. On the dorsal aspect, this is the whole brainstem, but we should take only the section of the midbrain. This is the medulla level, this is the pons level, this is only going to be the midbrain level. On the dorsal aspect, we will be seeing the colliculus. Firstly, the 4 colliculus swellings are seen. Upper 2 colliculus are called as the superior colliculus, the lower 2 are the inferior colliculus. All the 4 together is called as corpora quadrigemina. The corpora quadrigemina is nothing but the reflex centers which involves for vision and hearing. Between the colliculus or the swellings there is a sulcus called as the cruciform. Yes, it is crossed, so we will name it as cruciform. Cruciform sulcus. The upper limb of the sulcus will reach the pineal body. The lower limb of the sulcus will reach the frenulum veli. We have seen about the corpora quadrigemina, which consists of the superior colliculus above and the inferior colliculus below. And we have already seen about the cruciform sulcus. Above it is extending, the upper limb is extending to the pineal body, the lower limb extending into the frenulum veli. On either sides of the colliculus, the superior colliculus lies the superior brachium, and on the sides of the inferior colliculus lies the inferior brachium. These brachiums are nothing but brachium means limb. These limbs are extensions are reaching the geniculate bodies. The superior colliculus via the superior brachium reaches the lateral geniculate body. The inferior colliculus via the inferior brachium reaches the medial geniculate body. We have already explained corpora quadrigemina is a reflex center involving vision and hearing. So which colliculus is for what reflex? The superior colliculus, remember, as eyes, the vision center. It is carried out by the superior brachium to the lateral geniculate body. Here L for understanding purpose, take it as light. Light, superior colliculus, from the superior colliculus to the lateral geniculate body, light reflex is taking place. And from the inferior colliculus via the inferior brachium, it goes to the medial geniculate body, for example, M for music. So these are the structures located on the dorsal aspect. One more structure will be the crus cerebri located on the dorsal aspect. So now we are going to see about the internal aspect of the midbrain. At two levels we will be studying about the midbrain. Before getting into the two levels, there are certain structures which are common to both the levels. We will see to that in the next slide. An imaginary line is drawn along the cerebral aqueduct which divides the midbrain into a small dorsal part and a large ventral part. Small dorsal part is called as the tectum and the larger ventral part is called as the cerebral peduncle. The cerebral peduncle is still more classified into three: the ventralmost crus cerebri and the pigmented layer called as the substantia nigra and the tegmentum. Structures common at both the level is crus cerebri and substantia nigra. There will be a slight changes in the arrangement of the lemniscus and the presence of the nucleus of the cranial nerves at the level of tegmentum and tectum. So now we will see about the crus cerebri and substantia nigra. Crus cerebri is thoroughly related with the white matter and the substantia nigra is related with the motor neuron. The substantia nigra is the large motor neuron layer. The crus cerebri, now we will see about the crus cerebri, which has already been discussed. It is the longitudinal white matter fibers will be passing via the crus cerebri. It is divided into three regions: medial most, lateral most and the intermediate, or we can take medial 1/6, lateral 1/6 and the middle part. The middle part consists of the corticospinal tract. The medial 1/6 consists of the frontopoietin fibers and the lateral 1/6 consists of the temporopoietin, paritopoietin and the occipitopoietin fibers. We have seen about this. Now coming to the substantia nigra, I have already told nigra means black. There is some pigmentation in this layer. Substantia nigra is a large motor neuron. It is a pigmented sheet which is intervening between the crus cerebri ventrally and the tegmentum dorsally. It is concave on the dorsal aspect and spiky or spokey on the ventral aspect. It consists of two layers, the dorsal layer and a ventral layer. The dorsal layer, both the layers are pigmented. The substantia nigra, both the layers are pigmented. The dorsal layer is called as the pars compacta and the ventral layer is called as the pars reticularis. This pars compacta consists of melanine cells and the pars reticularis consists of the ion cells. The melanine and the ion cells are responsible for the pigmentation. The melanine cells synthesis dopamine which is carried to the basal ganglion, especially to the corpus striatum via the nigrostriate path. The name is very simple. from the substantia nigra. So it is nigro. Striate. Striate means to the corpus striatum. So nigro striate pathway. The dopamine, which is synthesized by the melanin, which is located on the pars compacta, is carried out to the corpus striatum layer. So, if there is a deficiency or if there is a lesion at the level of substantia nigra, synthesis of dopamine will be stopped or diminished, which leads to Parkinson's disease. So, these two layers are common at the level of inferior as well as superior colliculus. So, the transverse section of midbrain at the level of inferior colliculus. We have already seen the common features at the level of inferior as well as superior colliculus, that is regarding your crus cerebri and the substantia nigra. Coming to the other features at the level of tegmentum and the tectum region. We will confine with the grey matter and the white matter. First, we will talk about the periaqueductal grey matter content. The central part, the central aqueduct is going to be the cerebral aqueduct of Sylvius, and the around region will be the periaqueductal grey matter region, which consists of the nucleus of trochlear nerve. See, nucleus of trochlear nerve. It lies in the ventral part of the grey matter. The fibers arises in the nucleus have an unusual course. We have already told about the trochlear nerve, because all the cranial nerve nucleus will be emerging at the ventral surface. Only this nerve emerges at the dorsal surface. So they run dorsally and they decussate in the superior medullary velum before they emerge out of the dorsal aspect, after which they will wind around the crus cerebri and reaches the ventral aspect. So this is going to be the trochlear nerve nucleus located at the periaqueductal grey matter region. Next will be the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. This lies in the lateral part of the central grey matter. So these are all the two structures situated in the central periaqueductal region. Next will be the inferior colliculus. Inferior colliculus is located on the dorsal aspect. It is the large mass of grey matter lying in the tectum region. It forms the cell station in the auditory pathway and is probably concerned with the reflex involving auditory stimulus. We have already told this is confined with the auditory system. The afferents received by this is from the lateral lemniscus, and the efferents given out is passing via the inferior brachium and reaches the medial geniculate body. This is about the grey matter substance, and we know on the whole the substantia nigra is also the grey matter content of the midbrain at the level of inferior colliculus. The white matter content at the level of inferior colliculus includes the crus cerebri, which we have already discussed, and at the level of tegmentum region, the compact bundle of fibers are arranged, which is related dorsomedial to the substantia nigra. It consists of the medial lemniscus, trigeminal lemniscus, spinal lemniscus, and the lateral lemniscus. They are arranged in a necklace pattern. The medial lemniscus includes the fibers of ventral spinothalamic tract. The spinal lemniscus includes the fibers from the lateral spinothalamic tract and also the spinotectal tract. And we know about the lateral lemniscus. These fibers are going to give fibers to the inferior colliculus, from which the efferents are to the medial geniculate body. So these are arranged in a necklace pattern. There are other other fibers also located near the midline or middle of the tegmentum. the medial longitudinal bundle which is lying ventral to the trochlear nucleus, and the region ventral to the medial longitudinal bundle lies the tectospinal tract. The tectospinal tract, as the name insists, from the tectum of the midbrain to the spinal cord. It is confined with the coordination movement of the head and neck. Next, still more, ventral to the tectospinal tract, there are some decussations seen. The decussations are of the superior cerebellar peduncles in the median aspect. There are certain white matter fibers still more ventral to the decussations, and is the rubrospinal tract. Rubrospinal tract, as the name mentioned, rubro means from the red nucleus. Rubrospinal tracts are from the red nucleus to the spinal cord. This tract is confined with the motor action. Then there is reticular formation seen on either sides of the periaqueductal region. So these are all the white and the grey matter content at the level of inferior colliculus. So in this slide, we will be seeing about the transverse section of midbrain at the level of superior colliculus. So in this, we will be seeing in two categories, that is the grey matter content and the white matter content. The grey matter content includes of the oculomotor nerve, the cranial nerve nuclei on the ventromedial aspect of the periaqueductal region. The oculomotor nerve nucleus along with the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, which is a part of the nuclear complex of the oculomotor nerve, is located on the ventromedial part. Both the nucleus of either sides together makes a triangular-like appearance. The fibers from this nucleus will be passing on the ventral aspect such a way it crosses over the red nucleus, it crosses over the substantia nigra, and then reaches the ventral aspect, as all the cranial nerves will be passing out from the ventral aspect of the brainstem. Similarly, the oculomotor nerve also emerges out at the level of the ventral aspect of the midbrain. The next nucleus, what we see in the periaqueductal region, will be the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, which we have seen in the inferior colliculus level also. A very interesting feature of the trigeminal nerve is the nuclear complex of the trigeminal nerve. Any nucleus will be located throughout the brainstem. The next grey matter component, what we see, will be the superior colliculus. We have already seen. See, in this diagram also we can come to a conclusion like eyes. So something related to the eyes. This is going to take sensations from the eyes. So this station, the superior colliculus, will be a station where certain afferent fibers will reach and certain efferent fibers will be going out. Two set of fibers, that is one from the retina, the afferent from the retina and the inferior colliculus will be received at the level of superior colliculus, and the fibers to the spinal cord and medulla will be as an efferent from the superior colliculus. We know the superior colliculus passes fibers via the superior brachium to the lateral geniculate body, that is concerned with the complex action of vision. The next grey matter nucleus will be the pretectal nucleus. Pretectum. This region altogether is the tectal region. It is just before, so pretectal nucleus. It receives the afferent from the lateral root of the optic nerve, and it gives efferent to the Edinger-Westphal nucleus of both the side, and it is concerned with the pupillary reflex pathway. The final grey matter content is the red nucleus. As the name suggests, it is a red nucleus. The main content will be, it has high vascularity and iron, so only it is called as red nucleus. It receives efferent from the globus pallidus cortex. It gives efferent to the spinal cord. And the main action of this red nucleus will be the muscle tone. It is highly inhibitory influence on the muscle tone, and it is the relay center of the fibers coming from the cerebral cortex and the cerebellar cortex. The fibers from the cerebral cortex, which passes via or it relay on the red nucleus and reaches the spinal cord. Fibers are named as cortico-rubrospinal fibers. The fibers from the cerebellum reaches the red nucleus, relay on it and reaches the spinal cord are called as the cerebello-rubrospinal tract. So, as I have already mentioned, red nucleus is something concerned with the muscle tone, the motor action. So, this is all about the grey matter content of the midbrain at the level of superior colliculus. Now, coming to the white matter content. White matter content, we know the crus cerebri and the tracts passing through it, we know. Next will be the lemniscus. Here, only one, that lateral lemniscus will not be appreciated at the level of superior colliculus because it finish off ending in the inferior colliculus. So, only the medial lemniscus, trigeminal lemniscus and the spinal lemniscus are appreciated here. And a very important, the medial longitudinal bundle, which was medially placed at the level of inferior colliculus, is near the oculomotor nerve nucleus here in this region. Medial to it passes the oculomotor nerve fibers. Next comes the dorsal and the ventral tegmental decussations. The decussations of the tectospinal and the tectobulbar tracts forms the dorsal segment. The decussations of the rubrospinal tract forms the ventral segment. This is going to be the ventral segment. This is going to be the dorsal segment. And then comes the reticular formation, what we see in all the levels of the colliculus. Okay, now coming to the clinical anatomy, we have already enumerated it in the previous slide. We will give an explanation about it. The first syndrome is the Weber's syndrome, which includes the oculomotor nerve and the crus cerebri. Mainly, when there is a lesion in the crus cerebri, there will be a contralateral hemiplegia of the limbs, face and tongue due to the damage to the descending motor tract. And what is the role of oculomotor nerve? If there is a damage, there will be ipsilateral effects in the eye movement activity, including the pupil dilatation, which is because of the oculomotor nerve involvement. Occlusion of the branches of posterior cerebral artery, which supplies the midbrain, may also cause superior alternate hemiplegia. That is the other name for Weber's syndrome. Next will be the Benedict's syndrome, which is mainly caused because of the injury to the red nucleus, which results in ipsilateral oculomotor palsy and contralateral tremor. So, when the oculomotor nerve is involved, we know oculomotor nerve is going to supply the extraocular muscles of the eye. So hopefully lateral squint and ptosis of same side may be the symptom of the Benedict's syndrome. And we have told the red nucleus is also confined with the muscle tone action. So there will be tremor and twitching movement of the opposite arm and leg. This is about the Benedict's syndrome. The next will be the Parinaud's syndrome. It is also known as the dorsal midbrain syndrome. Here, what is mainly affected is the medial longitudinal fasciculus. And lastly, about the Arrigel-Robertson pupil disease wherein which your pretectal nucleus is involved.
Thank you.